Hello, I'm John Hemingway. Welcome back to Shropshire. Now, I thought today we could talk about lamb castration and the methods by which you can do that and where those methods stand with respect to the law. Now, this has been a hot topic for the last couple of years because our legislation on this is outdated and it hasn't kept up to speed with changing attitudes to animal pain relief, nor has it kept up to speed with new methods that have come to market. So I want to make clear I'm presenting here where the law stands on these things here and now, not where I think it should or where it ought to. Okay, I'm also not promoting any of these devices particularly, I'm just telling you what is out there. So stick with me and we'll get stuck into it. So the first thing has to be to ask whether you've considered if it's actually necessary for you to castrate your lambs or all of your lambs. Now, we know there are advantages to leaving lambs entire. We're going to get faster growth rates, we're going to get a leaner carcass. A fairly recent Irish study found that uncastrated ram lambs were hitting the abattoir about 2 weeks sooner than their castrated counterparts. So consider, do you need to do it? I know it's not always practical to say at lambing, well, oh, these lambs are likely to end up as stores and are going to be sexually mature before they get to the abattoir. These are not. But, you know, you can use your discretion. If you've got an adult mature ewe with plenty of milk that has one single ram lamb, you know, and he comes out weighing 8 kilos, well, is that ram lamb going to be hitting puberty before he gets in the abattoir? No, he's not. Now, the first method of castration that I wanted to talk about are these. You all know what these are, you know how they work. Rubber bands, elastrator rings. Now, for once, the law is actually exceptionally clear. When it comes to rubber rings, you cannot use them in lambs above 7 days old. That's the same across all the devolved nations. The legislation is identical with one exception that we'll come on to in a minute. If you're not Scottish, don't get excited. Now, legally, do you have to give anaesthetic when you put these on lambs? No. Legally, do you need to give an anti-inflammatory painkiller like meloxicam? No. Is there a good case for giving one or both of those things? I think so. Does it hurt? I mean, how could it not? You might consider giving an anti-inflammatory, for example, to those lambs. It's only going to be a tiny dose, it's not going to cost you very much, but it will ease the discomfort of having that ring on. When it comes to anaesthetic, well, it seems to me like it would be a good idea to be able to give some anaesthetic when you're putting the rings on. Unfortunately, there is a device that will do that. So this is Numbnuts, and I do hope the person who came up with that name gave themselves a pat on the back. This is a device that puts the ring on the lamb and at the same time injects a very small volume of local anaesthetic into the site that the ring is going on. Obviously, that anaesthetic is not working immediately, but it is working within a minute or two, and while it's not going to last an awful long time, it will numb the discomfort for that initial period. This is a device that's been used quite a lot in Australia. There are two stumbling blocks here in the UK. The first one is that the anaesthetic, which this came packaged with, didn't have a license in sheep in this country. The second is that legislation, which simply says any device including a rubber band which castrates by means of restricting blood flow to the scrotum can only be used up to 7 days old. And of course, that is still the case with the Numbnuts system. The good news for you, if you are Scottish, is that relatively recently, the Scottish government has said, yes, if you are using anaesthetic in a Numbnuts device, you can use that to castrate lambs up to 3 months old. In England and Wales, we haven't had that change in legislation. The interpretation of the law remains the same. This device uses a rubber ring, therefore 7 days is the limit. So we have that awkward gap between 7 days and 3 months where often hill farmers, especially who aren't gathering lambs until that age, want to castrate, and there's not a lot of options out there. And that brings us to our third product. Clipfitter works like a Bidizzo. Bidizzos, bloodless castrators, they work by crushing the cord, the blood vessels, and importantly, the nerve going down to the testicles. And in doing that, it very rapidly numbs all sensation in the scrotum and the testicles. That is what Clipfitter does. This is a clip not unlike a freezer bag clip, clips on to the top of the scrotum, designed to crush the nerves, numb the sensation, and then cause the testicle to die off. Now, in the UK, handheld bedizzos are legal to use up to 3 months of age. So the question is, Clipfitter clips, where do they fall? Again, we have the same situation that we had with the numbnuts. In Scotland, that nation is considering the Clipfitter clip to be a bedizzo device. And they're saying because that is the way that it works and it causes the sensation in the scrotum to be lost by crushing the nerve, that is okay to use up until 3 months old. In England and Wales, we have not had that clarification. And we can look at what the NFU says and the Animal Welfare Council, and they are both interpreting the law to say that because these devices do cause constriction of blood flow to the scrotum, they fall under that same paragraph of the mutilations legislation, which means that they can only be used up to 7 days old. If you think I'm wrong about that, put in the comments, correct me, but please cite your sources, because I can find nothing that would suggest that we can interpret these clips to be bedizzos in England and Wales. By the time we're 3 months old, we draw a line above that. That is a vet job, and why shouldn't it be? That is surgery at that point. And that is pretty much the sum of it. We have rubber rings that we have a 7-day limit on, unless you are using a numbnuts device in Scotland. When it comes to the Clipfitter clips in Scotland, you're allowed to use them up to 3 months old. And I can fully understand why the Scottish government has made that distinction. In England and Wales, the interpretation of the law is that we should be considering them to be rings. So that's it from me. I will be along with another video very soon, and I do hope to see you there. Bye.